for this. We haven't gotten into strategy yet, but if you had gone up there, right, boom, I would have put my stop loss before. So I would have been risking, if you had done $10, that would have been $663. Yeah. If you had done $1, that would have been $666. I mean, sorry, $66. And then 10 cents would have been $6.63. Okay. So technically, in order to make that amount of money, right, those $3,300, I would have been risking $663, even though I only put 1.0 in, which is only worth $10. Does that make sense? Because I make the $10 up or down either way. So that's why I don't necessarily agree when people are like, oh, off of, like I told you originally, that's why I had to break this down. Even though I told you you could have put $10 in and made $3,000, that's not necessarily true, because technically this is what you would have had to risk overall to say the market, if the market breaks below this point, then I no longer want to be in that trade and it's not doing what I thought. Because in hindsight, yeah, I could see that, okay, I could have made $3,000, but I've seen it already, right? So again, you have to have some sort of risk, and that's what we'll get into when it becomes strategy. But that's how you can make that huge profit. Again, that was over a couple of days, so but you would have just opened that trade and left that running. Does that make sense so far though?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then again with the trend line, go back right there, right to that trend line. Break of the trend line. Okay. Now we're making new lows. That's a new low right there, right? So now I got to trade up my trend line, and that's how it's going to go. And you just keep doing that over and over again. So that's another thing that you have to practice, is drawing up your trend lines and seeing where it breaks. Those key levels. This is a key level to me because it made a huge push out of there, right? I continue to keep that key level up because that could just be a break and retest again, right? Look what happened. Came right to that zone, right? Right to that exact zone that was over here. That's why I did that, boom, and pushed off it. So some people could have bought a trade right there, right? Some people will do that and they'll buy off of these zones. Boom, okay, I take a buy. That was 60 pips. That's still pretty good, right? That could have been almost $600 on one lot, or $59 off the dollar, right? Again, you're risking a little more, but off 10 cents is like $6, right? So if we continue to push that, look what happened.
It went back up and retested. Damn.
You see how these zones are used over and over again, and this is how you can find the trade locations. This is why people can make, this is why you can make money. It's not gambling, right? I always say this is not necessarily gambling if you don't treat it like that. It's more like counting cards, right? You can have statistics and probabilities on your side. So yes, it's gambling in the sense of you, at the end of the day, can never really know what's going to happen until it happens, right? When it happens, then you can say, I knew that was going to happen. But at the same time, you didn't really know until it happened, right? And that's how trading is. So that's why there is somewhat of gambling. But again, that's why we do risk management. And that'll be something that we get into also. But I like to just teach this, right? We'll get into risk management once we start to get into actually trading this stuff. Right now, I'm just still trying to teach you market structure and just the beginning ideas of how the market moves. So you can understand, okay, yes, I can learn this. I can learn how the market moves and I can take advantage of that. That's price action. Okay. This is where the basics is price action. And then we can add indicators at some point, right? So this will be my strategy where we can actually have lines that are also our trend lines already, right? Like EMAs, clouds, Ichimoku clouds, and stuff like that. So that'll make it a little easier for you to really see, right, which way the trend is. If it's above this cloud, then it's in an uptrend, right? And look what happened that whole time it was above the cloud. It was moving upwards, right? So again, that's something else we can do, but I like to really teach basics first, because a lot of people teach indicators and then you get into this idea that there's a magical indicator that'll help you win 1,000% of the time. Because that's what it can feel like sometimes with these indicators, is that they'll constantly win. But you have to go off of this and then use indicators as confirmation, right? So again, massive push away from that area. We had a massive push away from this area too, okay? So I would consider this this is what supply and demand is. It's another form of support and resistance, but it's more dramatic, right? Support and resistance will constantly get broken. Supply and demand are massive pushes. Massive push from here all the way up, massive push all the way down. Okay. We can continue off. We could say we could kind of predict that if the market comes back up here, right? What is that? We call that resistance, right?
Yeah.
So we could predict that the market will bounce away from that zone. We'll see if that happens. Move the market back a little more. So let's just see. It might take a while to get down there. Again, you can see how it's kind of just stuck. I'll pull this out because it might hit that floor again, right? Ooh, you thought it was going to break it. It didn't though. Still just an area, right? Okay, we broke it. We're kind of just around it. Okay. Boom.
Oh,
But we had this key level over here, right?
yeah.
Let's pull again. You always want to pull these out, right? Look at that. Price to the left. You want to pull it out.
Broke it. Dang.
Look what happened. What is that? What is that?
Retest.
Break and retest, right? Off of what location right here, right? So you see how it didn't happen for a long time and we didn't get an immediate push, but how can you determine if the market's now in a downtrend? Break and retest from this level. Now this level is also important to me, right? I can also eventually trade off that. Do you see that though? That's break and retest right there. Okay. What happened? Back up to that same zone, that ceiling, right? An important zone because it hit multiple times. Again, these are the zones you want to start to trade your eye off of because you see how I skipped all these zones, right? There were these zones right here. I kind of skipped them though because these are the ones that are stronger. These are the ones it's going to be harder to make money off of. So again, you're going to want to look for the most important zones because that's where you're going to want to trade around because that's where everybody's trading around, the banks, the institution, the people putting the money that's going to move the market. That's where you want to trade. And this is the locations that they're trading at because they're thinking the same exact things. Okay. Again, break of that zone. We still had even this right here, right? So that would have been a break and retest of this floor right here. You see that? Boom. Pull back. Boom. Again, one more. We can just look at if it ever breaks this right here, right? Or gets down there. How it might just react off of that same location. Okay, that's where price is now, technically, to this day. You know what I mean? So just going over that, you can kind of determine what's happening right now, right? If price breaks this, especially because it came, look what happened. It came and rejected off of it, right? So for me, I'm looking at if price breaks this area right here, I'm assuming that it's going to continue in what trend did we already determine it's in, right?
Gotcha.
Right? We're making higher highs and higher lows, touches, right? I'm looking for 2 touches, 1 touch, 2 touch. These are bonus touches, so I can keep those. So I'm really looking for this thing to break to the downside, right? That's what we've been doing. I'm really looking for a break of this key zone right here, a break and close. At that point, I'll get in, but what can happen is we can have a pullback. This is the safer entry, right? And then continuation down, right? And then once these start to line up, like once you start to see things like this, stronger confluence, right? We had a break and retest at a trend line. That's even stronger, right? So once we start to stack these things up, that's when the trade even becomes stronger. That's why we can add indicators because we can start to stack confirmations up. Okay, not only did it break and pull back and retest, but it hit a trend line and it happened at a resistance point that now, or support point that now became resistance. All 3 things happened in one location. That's a really good probability that that's going to reject off that location. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's trend lines. That's break and retest. That's some live market stuff. I think that's pretty much good for today. That was about like an hour.
That was
Do you have
good.
any questions? Any questions?
Mm,
I'm gonna stop the.
So when you say when you say a rule, is it like a set rule that we're to follow when it comes to like?
Yeah. When it comes to trading, you have to abide by rules because everything at the end of the day is an opinion. right? Okay, my opinion is that it is creating higher lows or lower highs, right? That's off of just what you're visually seeing, and everybody's going to see something different, right? You might see it actually in an uptrend. So you have to make rules for yourself, and that's the only way you can find out, is it consistent? How can I be, because that's how we're going to find our probability, right? We have to stay as consistent as possible, just like in science, right? When you're doing something, it has to be consistently done in order for you to say, okay, it won 70% of the time. Because I did the same exact trade, the same exact rules, the same exact setups for 300 trades. And out of those 300 trades, 70% of the time, that same exact setup won. What do you think I'm going to continue to do throughout my trading career? You know what I mean? I'm going to continue to hit that until something shows me something different. But besides that, that's why it's so important to stick to your rules, because as soon as you pull away from your rule, you're technically in a new area of probabilities. Does that make sense? Even combining, like, okay, if it's not part of your strategy and you're using multiple strategies, and multiple ideas and it's not consistent all the time, then they're different things and it's hard to tell if it's consistently profitable, right? Again, that's what you're looking for, is consistently profitable over a long period of time. Just like the market, it's always going to go up and down, right? It's never just going to go all the way up forever or all the way down forever, right? So again, you're going to make money, you're going to lose money. You're going to make money, you're going to lose money. You're going to make, but over, are you in an uptrend or are you in a downtrend? That's what you're trying to see when it comes to your profit. Just like in the trading market, but what you want to see when it comes to that trend is you want to see it in an uptrend, right? So again, you have to understand, making money in the market is not a straight line. This is not how you make money. You don't just make money, make money, make money. That's not how you make money in the market. You have a little good push of a lot of successful trades, and then you have some trades that don't work out. And then you have some successful trades, and then you have trades that don't work out. And you go through wins and losses, right? But then if you look out at the bigger picture, and I look at it just like I look at the market, if I'm doing this, I'm happy, right? Again, once you get into more money, this becomes quicker and it becomes easier. But yeah. Anything else you got?
I think that was like very well explained.
Yeah, again, well, I'm just teaching you market structure right now, and there are some rules that you will apply, like the 2 candle rule or 3 candle rule, right? Whatever that is for you for pullbacks and stuff like that. But as far as rules for our strategy, when we get into the strategy, I'll break that down more, and show you what those rules are, so you can do what we talked about kind of earlier, which was back testing, not break and retest. Back test, that's what back testing is where we can take those set of rules, and just like I did on the bar replay, where we just played it out, we go back in time and we just play it out, and we start to determine, does it win or lose? And then just like that tool that I pulled out, where you can see, okay, it would have won this many pips, then I can determine how much I would have also made, right? Hypothetically. So that's how you can back test and make sure, okay, I'm successful without even hopping into the live market. You should back test first. Okay, I'm successful like this. Now I can hop into the live market. That's where emotions are going to play out, because now you're going to have to just, again, in hindsight, yeah, okay, that's what back testing kind of gives you, is hindsight. Okay, that's what will happen, or that's what should happen. That's what back testing gives you. It gives you those images of seeing it over and over. This is what's going to happen. This is probably how far it's going to happen. So that when you get into the live trade, you can be confident. And you can get in and say, okay, you know what, I lost this one, but off of my back testing, I lost 3 in a row back testing and I won 7. And I profited thousands of dollars, right? I've seen that happen. So it's okay. I'll take that loss, right? I'm not going to get emotional. Boom, I take another loss. It's okay. I've done this already, right? This is not anything new. I've done this. That's why it's so important to back test. But again, when it's actually happening in person and you're watching the charts, there's emotions that happen. So that's another part of it. But